And the Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game 1.
Everyone counted the Indiana Fever out. ESPN analysts dismissed them, betting lines mocked them, and the reigning champions, the Las Vegas Aces, were already thinking sweep. But then, on the very night A'ja Wilson was celebrated as league MVP in front of her home crowd, something completely unexpected happened. The Fever pulled off the unthinkable and stole Game 1. How did a team missing half its roster rewrite the entire playoff script with just one victory? And what exactly did Caitlin Clark say afterward that has people buzzing across the league? Stay locked in, because this wasn't simply an upset, it was a statement. If you're backing the Fever, drop "fired up" in the comments and let the world know how proud you are of this team.
Particular matchup, Aces Fever Game 1. We're not deciding the whole series right now, just Game 1.
Should we do it together?
I think we should do it together,
Okay.
because my spidey sense are telling me they might be the same. 3, 2, 1.
Aces.
They're not going to lose after she just won MVP.
Yeah, period.
There's no, yeah,
No way.
okay,
I see
no
your-
way.
Now, let's rewind. Imagine walking into the playoffs without 6 of your core players. No analyst giving you even a whisper of a chance. Facing a 2-time defending champion waiting to dismantle you. That's the stage Indiana walked onto. A night scripted for someone else somehow transformed into their moment. From the jump, everything about this matchup screamed mismatch. ESPN's panels called it predictable. The sportsbooks weren't asking whether the Aces would win. They were debating by how many points. Even the media framing was telling survival was the word attached to Indiana, not victory. The underlying message? If the Fever managed to escape embarrassment, that alone would count as a win.
Indiana Fever had no business winning a playoff series this year, had no business advancing to the semifinals for the first time in a decade, and yet here they are, eliminating the Atlanta Dream in Atlanta without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Sid Colson, without Erin McDonald, without Chloe Bibby. The hospital squad is on the bench, and yet the Indiana Fever are into the semifinals of the WNBA playoff.
Then came the brutal injury report. Caitlin Clark sidelined, Sophie Cunningham out, Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, Erin McDonald, Damiris Dantas, 6 names gone. Indiana didn't resemble a playoff contender. They looked like a patched-together roster. Analysts weren't even calling them underdogs anymore, so just lucky to still be standing as though their season had already expired.
And then the coaching of Stephanie White. She is working with a 9-woman rotation, and 5 of those players did not even touch the court the last time the Fever played the Dream during the regular season, and 3 of those players weren't even on the team. I cannot say it enough. The Indiana Fever should not be here. They continue to be here. They battle. They're resilient. It's wildly impressive. Caitlin Clark wore the black Air Force Ones again. They had one of those forces lifted in the air like a beacon of hope, and now they'll face the Aces.
Picture the atmosphere in Las Vegas before tip-off. Banners from past titles swayed above, the home crowd geared up for a party, and at center court, the league honored A'ja Wilson with her MVP trophy. It wasn't just recognition of her greatness, it was a coronation of the story everyone expected. Vegas in the spotlight, Indiana in the shadows. The Fever weren't just overlooked, they were practically invisible in their own semi-final debut. But sports have a habit of tearing up the script the moment it feels locked in. Think back to history's most legendary underdog runs. Teams nobody believed in, squads written off before the ball even hit the floor. You could feel those parallels brewing. For Indiana, Game 1 wasn't just another playoff clash. It was their chance to demand a seat at the table. And when the final buzzer sounded, everything had changed.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
The MVP ceremony spotlight dimmed because Indiana stole it. They walked out of Vegas with an 89-73 victory, their first semifinal win in nearly a decade, and the entire basketball world left in disbelief. And while the team effort was monumental, the night ultimately belonged to one player who transformed it into her personal masterpiece. While all eyes had been locked on A'ja Wilson's trophy celebration, no one saw Kelsey Mitchell stepping in to flip the script. This was supposed to be the champs' night. Routine business, nothing to see here. But Mitchell refused to let her team be written off as background noise. She hijacked the story, turned the opener into her showcase, and by the end of it, the conversation around the league had completely shifted. Mitchell has long been respected as a lethal scorer.
First semifinal appearance, just what's your emotional state right now?
Normal, I think. It's practice, trying to prepare like anybody else would, like any other day. But keep the main thing, that's all you can do.
But too often she's been pushed into the background, overshadowed by bigger names. Coming into this series, all the chatter was about Wilson's dominance, Jackie Young's consistency, and Chelsea Gray's veteran control. Almost no one was talking about Mitchell as a game changer. Yet, as she has so often in her career, she answered not with words, but with her game. She scored in every way imaginable. Pull-up jumpers in the mid-range, deep threes when defenders gave her a sliver of daylight. Precision free throws, hitting all 6 attempts. From the paint to the perimeter, she looked untouchable.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
By the time the stat sheet closed, Mitchell had poured in 34 points on 12 of 23 shooting, including 4 triples. Efficient, relentless, unstoppable. And this wasn't just a big game, it was historic. No Fever player had dropped 30-plus in the postseason since 2012. No player in WNBA history had ever scored this many in their first semifinal appearance. Mitchell's eruption now sits alongside names like Lauren Jackson and Cynthia Cooper, except she didn't just match them, she surpassed them. In her debut at this stage, against the champions, under the glare of an MVP celebration, Mitchell etched her name into the record books. Even those sidelined couldn't help but acknowledge it. Caitlin Clark, forced to watch in street clothes, kept it simple on social media. 2 words. Kelsey, unreal. Short, powerful, and packed with respect. That moment captured exactly what Mitchell means to this team. Their veteran anchor, their reliable closer, the one who carries them when it matters most. Even Aces head coach Becky Hammon, never one to hand out praise casually, admitted post-game that they had no answer for Mitchell. And that honesty only highlighted the reality. This wasn't luck, and it wasn't a fluke. It was Mitchell at her absolute peak, showing the world she belongs in every conversation about the most dangerous guards in the league. And the symbolism? You couldn't script it better. On the very floor where Wilson was crowned MVP, Mitchell staked her own claim. It was like she was saying, "We've got a most valuable player too, and she wears Fever colors." Her explosion wasn't just about points. It was Indiana's defiance, their refusal to accept a supporting role in someone else's story. But this upset wasn't only about one player. It was about a collective identity. Indiana found its heartbeat across the roster. Defense, hustle, and grit. The Aces were supposed to dominate the paint with size and strength. Instead, Indiana flipped that script entirely. They turned defense and tempo into their secret weapon, building a blueprint to break the champions down. At the core of it was Aliyah Boston, tasked with one of the hardest jobs imaginable, guarding A'ja Wilson. The newly crowned MVP thrives on post-ups, stretches defenses, and attacks relentlessly. Most players shrink against her. Boston didn't. From the first possession, she chose disruption over imitation. She crowded Wilson's space, forced resets, and kept her off balance. Wilson still finished with 16 points and 13 rebounds, numbers that look solid. But the real story was rhythm. Every basket was a grind. Every possession dragged into the shot clock. Boston didn't erase Wilson. Nobody can. But she made her look human, and that was enough to tilt the balance. Indiana's wings stepped up too. Lexi Hull chased Jackie Young like a shadow, fighting screens, refusing to bite on fakes, and denying her the space she thrives in. On offense, Hull hit clutch threes that swung momentum. Odyssey Sims attacked the rim with fearless drives, forcing Vegas into foul trouble and flipping the game's tempo. Instead of Indiana playing cautious, they sped it up, and for once the Aces were the ones reacting, scrambling to catch up. Natasha Howard quietly stacked another double-double, battling on the glass and keeping possessions alive. Brianna Turner didn't light up the box score, but her defensive presence was undeniable. Her length changed shots, her positioning walled off drivers, and her impact made the paint something the Aces couldn't just own. By the numbers, Indiana actually outscored Vegas in the paint 50-38. What was supposed to be their weakness turned into one of their biggest strengths. By the end, even Hammond admitted the obvious. Indiana didn't just steal a game with hot shooting. They won the categories that define playoff basketball: pace, defense, urgency. And that means this blueprint isn't a one-time fluke. It's something they can replicate. But now comes the bigger test. Game 1 victories are special, but history says only about 28% of teams that lose the opener in a best-of-5 still come back to win the series. Vegas knows this, and they'll respond with urgency. A'ja Wilson will hunt for redemption. Jackie Young will look to break free from Hull's grip. And Becky Hammon has already seen Indiana's plan, so expect adjustments. The question now, can the Fever handle being the team in control? Winning as the overlooked underdog is one thing. Winning again when the champs are throwing every punch they've got, that's another level. Can Mitchell find her rhythm when doubled and trapped? Can Boston frustrate Wilson for a second straight night? Or will the Aces reclaim their throne? This is where championship identity is built, not after success, but after you're tested again. If Indiana snatches Game 2, they don't just keep momentum. They announce themselves as legitimate title contenders. This wasn't just a playoff win. It was Indiana rediscovering belief, proving that "we over me" isn't just a motto, but their truth. One fearless night after a decade of waiting showed exactly what this team can become. Coach Stephanie White summed it up best: one day at a time. You look too far ahead, you lose your focus. Game 2 isn't just the next hurdle. It's the opportunity for this upset to grow into a finals run. Can the Fever keep rewriting history? If you're fired up for this team, comment "fired up," subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.